Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Rishi Malhotra and I'm part of the Culture and Diversity team at TCS. A very warm welcome to all of you for the Allies of Diversity event. So culture and diversity has always been a cornerstone of the Tata culture and ethos. Diversity not only includes how individuals identify themselves, but also how others perceive them. Diversity within a workplace encompasses race, gender, ethnic, age, religion, perspectives, and such. A part also comprises sharing best practices and fostering allyship, which of course promotes the power of inclusion. At TCS, we have a focused employee resource group called TCS Network of Outstanding Women, or TCS Now as we call it, that helps all our women associates stay connected with each other across the globe and seek personal and professional support from the network. On the eve of International Women's Day, I invite all of you to explore an opportunity for collaborative dialogue and partnership, and a deeper understanding of how we all can embrace equity. I'll give you a very brief sequence of events for the next 1 hour. I'll be giving a brief introduction of the speakers, and then we have opening remarks by Tushar Parekh, Country Head Brazil, BFSI Head Latam at TCS. We then will start a panel discussion on diversity, a human and business imperative. I would like to mention that this session is being recorded. This event will be broadcasted in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Request you to click your preferred option to hear the same. So without further delay, let me quickly start introducing our allies for today. It's my pleasure to welcome Cíntia Barcelos, IT Director at Banco Bradesco. Cíntia is an IT executive with 29 years of experience, leading teams in co-creating innovative and creative technology solutions. She has deep technical architecture skills in hybrid cloud, data, and AI. Currently, she is a technology director at Bradesco, responsible for infrastructure, cloud, and cybersecurity. Previously, she was the IBM CTO for financial services and the first woman to be nominated as IBM Distinguished Engineer in Latin America. Wow. Welcome, Cíntia, and we all are waiting to hear from you today. Now, I would like to welcome Maria Luisa Polo, Area Manager, Software Engineering and Transformation Leader at Banco de Crédito del Perú. Maria is an innovator by vocation and has rich experience in process optimization, leadership in strategic projects, and digital transformation. She has the ability to connect the needs and priorities of business with technological solutions that generate value. She's a hardworking perfectionist and, in her own words, a non-conformist with an extremely creative work style. Hi, Maria. Happy to have you here today. Now I'd like to welcome Natalia Miklailova, Chief Operating Officer, Latam AON. Natalia is a bilingual professional, results-oriented, with extensive work experience in companies in the real sector and non-profit entities. A seasoned leader with a high sense of responsibility and commitment, leadership and innovation skills, entrepreneurial spirit, ability to strategically manage assigned projects and tasks. Her strength lies in the development of interpersonal relationships, analytical skills, along with attention to detail and teamwork. I should definitely learn some of that. Welcome, Natalia. Happy to have you here at this event. So the conversation today will be steered by none other than Preeti D'Mello. She's Global Head Culture and Diversity and Lead Academy at TCS. An experienced leader with a career spanning over 3 decades, she's been pivotal in strategizing and spearheading large-scale culture and diversity global initiatives that deliver high-value business outcomes. Preeti is responsible for the ongoing systemic transformation in the culture and diversity ecosystem with a simple motto, inclusion without exception. A seasoned coach, Preeti has also established Lead Academy, an institutional learning community that serves as an epicenter for customized DEI and leadership development program interventions. Hello, Preeti.
Hi, so delighted to be here. So delighted to be amongst powerful women.
So now I would like to invite Tushar Parekh, who's country head of Brazil and also BFSI head of LATAM for TCS. In this dual role, he focuses on the expansion of BFSI in Latin America, as well as the implementation of the company's strategy in Brazil. Tushar has more than 2 decades of professional experience in which he has held various roles, and led strategic initiatives, including customer relations, sales, business development, advising customers on digital strategy and transformation. I also want to mention that he is always and will be a strong advocate and an ally of diversity and inclusion, truly. So over to you, Tushar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vrishi. Hi, everyone. Good day. Buenos dias. Boa tarde a todos. It is a pleasure to welcome everyone to the third year edition of our event, Allies of Diversity in Latin America. Special welcome to our guests, Cíntia, Maria Luisa, and Natalia. And thank you to our leaders, Preeti and Vrishi, for making this happen for the third time. This session today is designed to discuss more diverse and inclusive environment and celebrate the success of women executive leaders. It is a moment to get inspired by their experience and thoughts. I would like to highlight the International Women's Day's 2023 campaign theme. This hashtag Embrace Equity. Let's make this theme for the entire year. We must talk about it. Why equal opportunities aren't enough as people start from different places. So true inclusion and belonging require equitable actions. And to envision a better future, let's actively support and embrace equity. So happy for this session, and thank you for all the leaders. Passing back to Vrishi.
Thank you so much, Tushar. So Preeti, the floor is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Tushar. Thank you, Rishi. And to Maria Luisa, Cynthia, and Natalia, very warm welcome. I'm so glad that that we are keeping the spirit of the oncoming Women's Day, which is tomorrow, and upholding the idea of equity through this conversation. I'm very aware that time is short and that 60 minutes goes by far too quickly, especially when there is an alive conversation. So with your permission, I will initiate the conversation right away. And Maria Luisa, if I may begin with you, as one of Peru's largest banks, your workforce comprises of employees with backgrounds that are very, very diverse and experiences that are potentially even more diverse than their backgrounds. Now, with the objective of serving both customers and communities, it would be great to hear your voice and understand from you about the importance of creating an entirely inclusive environment, not only for your employees and clients, but for all your stakeholders. And when I say all your stakeholders, I'm somewhere also thinking of community. Speak to us about this and throw some light on how do you ensure that all employees feel empowered through the process.
Thank you, Preeti. Hello, everyone. As already mentioned, I'm the leader of the software engineer area at BCP, the bank where we turn plans into reality. Throughout more than 20 years at BCP, I had the opportunity not only to grow and develop professionally, I have also witnessed the transformation journey that we are going through as an organization, and that it's leading us to become a collaborative, more flexible bank that empowers and innovates and is not afraid of change. In a bank that wants things to be done in a work environment where there are equal opportunities for both men and women. At Credit Corp, the business group that BCP belongs to, we're convinced that the full and complete development of a country requires the participation of women and men in all spheres of society with equal opportunities and conditions. We recognize that today, this is a reality to be achieved. Despite the efforts and progress achieved, women continue to face historical inequalities today that cover aspects as diverse as health, education, and employment, as well as different forms of violence. We believe that this reality can be changed, and doing is so essential. The companies that are part of Credit Corp have committed to actively work for real equal opportunities without gender discrimination. And for this, we will work on 3 aspects. First, we are committed to building work environments that guarantee our female and male collaborators in their diversity, equal opportunities in their professional career. Our aspiration is to achieve a balance in the participation of women and men in our organization. Secondly, we assume the committed to promote a work culture that allows the reconciliation of personal, family, and work life, recognizing that there are different realities and needs of the people who make up our organization. We are aware that gender roles and stereotypes operate as barriers to the equal involvement of women and men in the different aspects of their lives. For this reason, this commitment seeks to promote work environments that allow the integral realization of the personal, family, and professional roles of all people. Third and final, we adopt a culture of zero tolerance against workplace sexual harassment, which must be prevented and punished. These 3 aspects make up our gender equality policy. These commitments are part of both our culture and work style, as well as the way we do business and relate to customers, suppliers, and society in general.
Thank you so much. That was so incredibly comprehensive. And as I was listening to you, what came up for me was that you're looking at the idea of equity and inclusion from various aspects. You're looking at the entire system, and you're also looking at the experience of individuals within that system. And that is essentially a wonderful developmental polarity. Thank you so much for your response, Maria Luisa. I really appreciate it. Cynthia, if I may come to you. Now, Bradesco has been recognized by the Bloomberg Gender Equality Index, which is a really big recognition. And not only have you been recognized, but for the 4th consecutive year. Gender equity, as we all know, is one of the sustainable development goals that has been prioritized by the UN. And I see that even by your organization, you speak about it as essential and important. Would you speak to us about your commitment in valuing women at the workplace and community at large, and how this award is a recognition of what is really happening on ground?
Hi, Preeti. Thank you for the question. I'm very happy to be here and very honored to be invited for this panel. Thank you so much. So, Bradesco truly evolves diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and you can see that from our awards and the many internal programs that we have. And we walk the talk. So we have 8 senior executives in IT, 4 of them are women. But and that's what Bradesco is doing overall. But you asked me what I do, right? And how I support women in the workplace. And we need to really take it personal. So in what I have from my experience, before we support women in the workplace, we need to make sure that they will get there, especially when we talk about the STEM field, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. First of all, we need to make sure that our girls in very young age, they are supported to evolve their interests and the things they like from a very young age. Sometimes we misguide them with unconscious bias that we have on our daily lives. So I have 2 daughters. They are now both in college. But when they were young and they would do tests at school, I saw a lot of mothers saying that I asked my husband to study math with them because it's not my field. And I would position them like, you are telling your daughter that women don't like math. So don't tell them that. Just help them add and test them that, because otherwise you create those unconscious bias, and we do that on our daily lives every day. So I think one big part that we need to do, we need to make sure that young girls, they add to their potential. And for many years, I would work with a NGO that I would go to public schools here in Brazil and talk to girls and boys and less fortunate population about the opportunities in IT and what a great field, what a computer science does, what an engineer does, because it's hard. It's hard to figure. It's very easy to know what a doctor does, what a teacher does, but it's very hard at a young age to understand what we do, what I do for a living. My daughters, they still don't understand very much what I do every day. So after we create girls that they want to study math and all those things, we need to be intentional in creating a diversity workforce because it's hard. We don't receive many. I'm sure that Maria doesn't receive many resumes from women as the same thing as Tushar. Every day I get calls from friends that I have this great opportunity. I need to put a woman here. Do you know someone that you can point me to? So there is a great opportunity for women in the IT field, and we need to exercise that every day. And one thing that I do, I never say no to a woman that asks me for mentorship, for coach, and I speak up for women. So when I see that a woman did a great job, we don't do a great job in telling what we did. We learn it along the way that we should do our jobs and not speak up for that. So if you see a young woman get into the workplace, who did a great job, let's speak up for them. So we need to create a networking in the workplace that make them feel safe to work here. I was very lucky. I had a father that thought differently. He supported me in math. I have a husband that always supported my career, but that's not a reality for most women. So we need to create that safe zone that they can come to work and that we can remind them how great they are every day. And that's the third thing. We need to have role models. As I said before, it's very easy for our daughters, our sisters, to see what a good doctor does, what a good teacher does, but it's very hard to see. There are so few women that are engineers. It's hard to know what they do, and it's a very few example of them. So we need to come to events like this. I always I like to speak in those events because it's a way to share, because it's hard to, people usually don't talk what went wrong, right? So I think it's good to share what we learned, how we got here, and create a positive thing. One last example that I like to give, there is a partnership that Bradesco does with a company called Laboratoria. Laboratoria is training women all over Latin America, and I think it's a great example of taking a woman that came from a not so good, not so like from public schools and that needed scholarships to get to college. So they train them in technology, and through partnerships with companies like Bradesco and others, we help them get their first job, and we help them train them as well. So I think we need to do more of those examples here in Latin America.
Absolutely awesome. Given that we all come from well-established corporate structures, when we talk about the work that's really happening on ground, it undoubtedly speaks to us as individuals. So your examples around being a role model, mentoring and coaching, never saying no, making sure that we showcase the work of women are absolutely wonderful examples. And the one that stuck with me the most is how our unconscious bias, rather unconsciously, permeate a system. There is no denying that there is some level of doing what the senior folks do and trying to be like them. And when there is unconscious bias, we take that as a norm or as the truth, and start inculcating that belief system. So thank you so much for bringing that out, because I do believe that over and above this session, we all need to be aware of what is it that we are creating and how our conscious efforts of delving into our own awareness will allow us to make that change, make that difference. Thank you so very much, Cynthia. Natalia, may I ask you a question on the workplace culture of AON? And there's a lot of feedback that we received on how your employees are comfortable being themselves, that they can be authentic, they have a deep sense of belonging, they feel empowered, and thus they feel ready and able to rise to whatever their highest potential might be in that scenario. How do you ensure that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging becomes a part of the DNA of your organization, and that all employees actually embrace inclusive behaviors?
Well, first of all, hello to everyone. Really, thank you very much for this invitation. I'm really very delighted, and like Cynthia said, very honored to be with this team. And thank you to all TSS colleagues to join this session. So it's really create this space to share great ideas and really speak about this important topic. So when we speak, and like Preeti, your question is about how we can really like embed all this intention in our DNA. I think it is something about our culture, how we can really have these initiatives as part of our culture, because when it is a part of our culture, it is really turned to our DNA. So in AON, and like culture starts with the values, and in AON, just to really show how we are positioning, how important this topic is, we just create 3 values in our organization. And one of them is united through trust as one inclusive and diverse team. So first was declaring, yes, to the whole company, yes, what is our values for all employees. But just for you to know, also in AON, we value our employee experience as the same important as a client experience. So we always speak about how should be this employee experience in our company. And of course, one of these experiences is we really want our people to feel accepted, yes, really valued of the way how they are is, yes, not how we pretend them to be. They can really be authentic, that who they are, and feel very comfortable in our culture. But as you say, okay, we can declare one value, but how we really make it happen, and every day. Just for me it is all about education, because first we really need to recognize we have this gap, yes, and the way we can fill this gap is through many education. Okay, but I'm not just saying, okay, we need to fulfill all these nice virtual courses that we are creating. They are forming the part, of course, of this education, but also creating this type of spaces, these type of discussions where we can really share different ideas, different perspectives. And just for me is like, you are right here, we are learning something new, we are educating ourselves to see how we can close those gender gaps or those minorities gaps, or whatever biases we can have in our minds. And just a great example like in AON, because what we do is really to be a little bit more intentional. Yes, and when I say intentional, is we really need to have this intentional action, just really to create as part of our DNA. As an example, when we have these hiring processes, we always ensure is like for those leadership positions to have at least 2 women or more women, yes, as a candidate than men, but really to have the perspective. We are not accepting any pool of candidates without women representation. Yes, in the past it was happening, not anymore. Other things, as an example, just I have a great chance the last year to be the sponsor of one first program we created in Latin America, the name Influence, for 20 very talented women. It was like many workshops we did with them to really give them the tool to push them and to help them to navigate and to really prepare them how they can really assume those leadership positions. Because the problem we have today, at least in AU, I know in many other parts, is like we have a lot of women, of course, in many of the levels, but in this top level, it is like we still have a gap. So, but what we need, what we really need to take these intentional steps to see how we can help them, yes, to really be prepared to assume those more important positions. And like Cynthia said, like it is, education is mentoring, it is coaching, yes, it is these spaces, but also many times as a feedback we can provide, we can receive, because all feedback should be the part of our education, how we can, you know, like improve our biases, our perspective about what we can do more, and really to make it part of our DNA.
Right, and so very true. I wouldn't change a thing of what you said, specifically around education. So Natalia, at TCS, we have a WBT, which is really the foundations of D&I. And we are about 620,000 people right now. Approximately 520,000 people have taken that WBT, that web-based learning program. The big differentiator in our work internally in the organization is that we believe that everything can be learned, and that thus there is someone has to be present to teach. So it's a wonderful lens, and more power to you for taking it forward. I love the idea that no recruitment pool without women is not accepted. I love that. I love that norm. And that norm actually changes things. You know, if we make those as spoken or unspoken rules, I think our partners in the process also learn that we are really serious about what we're doing. Thank you. Thank you for that response. Cynthia, if I may come back to you about the larger scope of D&IB in general, and there's a lot of conversation right now around the impact of the whole bigger effort and initiatives around diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. Now, in recent times, there's been a visible conversation around the impact of D&IB on inclusion. What I'd love to hear from you is, in your role as the IT director at COO Bradesco, what do you believe is the impact of D&I on innovation, and how have you experienced it? Maybe some examples as you go along.
So thank you, Preeti. Innovation is all about people, right? And only by combining different ideas and different perspectives, you can come with great solutions and ideas for complex problems. If everyone thinks the same, you never innovate. And diversity comes from not only gender, but age, race, sex orientation, but also the experience. So it's really important to get people from different areas of study, from background, from generations, from career path, cultural difference, all those things together. It's really what comes to innovation. So here in Bradesco, we have 51% of our staff, they are women. We are still not on those good numbers in the IT field, because IT is more complicated from what I told you before. 27% of our employees are Black. We have employees with disabilities, with different generations. And I think the major benefit of having these different mindsets and experience that we can represent our society. And the Bradesco client, they come from this different diverse population that we have in Brazil. So only by having a diverse workforce, we can provide different products and solutions for our clients. So it's a win-win when we really investing in diversity and inclusion. But we cannot have a diverse workforce if we don't change the culture and let those people work. So we need to the leaders need to create an environment where everyone feels free to contribute with ideas. So you need to allow people to commit errors and learn from them. You need to ensure that everyone is heard. You need to make it safe for people to propose original ideas. You need to let people decide. If you start deciding for everyone, why bring smart people to work with you? You need to share credit for success. And like Natalia said, you need to give feedback, and you need to listen to feedback when they give it to you. So I guess that's the way we come to innovate. And I always look for people who are different than me. I hate to work with people that think just as I think, because then we all agree and life will go on. But if you bring people that think different from you and challenge you every day, that's when you come to original ideas, and that's when you innovate.
So true, and so incredible, right? It's actually a simple solution. Diversity in workforce leads to diversity in thought. Diversity in experience leads to diversity of mind. And all in all, it leads to diversity of solutions. And it's an intentional process. It's not a process that is going to happen by default. I do agree with you that, and this has been my limited experience in Latin America, that there are not as many women in the tech field, but we've got to start where we are, right? That's possibly the reality on ground. So the more we advocate, the more we put our word out, the more we share on sessions like these, where we provide hope around the potential of the future for women, there is a greater possibility of change. And the themes that are standing out for me, one is, of course, learning, the unconscious bias piece, and also on what both you and Natalia have touched on is feedback. And feedback, interestingly, is not what we say to each other. Sometimes we need to recognize that feedback is constantly happening around us. We're constantly receiving feedback. We just might not be picking it up. We might not be picking it up and doing something with it. It comes in terms of sometimes the unspoken word. This conversation should have been longer than 60 minutes. But if I may, Maria Luisa, if I may come to you, in the same stream of thought, organizations today have increased their focus on developing human capital in line with what we've spoken about, education, or even from the lens of social responsibility. At BCB, what are your initiatives in this space, and why do you believe that they are really important?
Thank you, Preeti, for the question, because it allows me to share with you a little more about our purpose as an organization, which has become our guide and north, and that each employee seeks to live every day from the position they have in the bank. At BCP, we say that we are 100% committed to being allies of our collaborators, clients, and Peru to continue transforming their plans into reality. There are the 3 dimensions on which we give life to our purpose, always seeking to be an organization with a high focus, not only in our clients, but also in our collaborators, also being allies in their plans, offering them benefits according to their needs, development opportunities, and the best work experience. But it's in the country dimension where I would like to stop for a moment to tell you about the meaning it has for us and the commitment that this search to generate a positive impact on society represents. Throughout our more than 130 years of history, we have always characterized ourselves by accompanying and promoting the Peruvian development. And we are clear that our relationship with society goes beyond transactions. We can impact our client lives in a very positive way. Thus, we have identified opportunities that contribute to the well-being of society, and that also allowed us to strengthen our operation. In this way, we contribute and generate value from what we know how to do the best. For this reason, today, many of our projects are focused, for example, on financial inclusion, financial education, and the promotion of small and medium-sized companies. We are in a sector that allows you to generate an incredible impact. There are many opportunities to do it, and especially on a huge scale. For example, today at BCP, we already serve more than 9 million customers. However, we have the challenge of continuing to innovate, considering that only 50% of the adult population in Peru uses financial services. From our experience with technology as an enabler, we have found multiple opportunities to impact the life of thousands of Peruvians, solving highly relevant social problems for our country, and that is what motivates us the most. An example of this is YAPE, which seeks the financial inclusion of 2/3 of Peruvians who today do not have access to financial services. And why is financial inclusion a topic that should interest us? According to the general ranking of a financial inclusion index prepared by Credit Corp, Peru ranks penultimate among 7 Latin American countries. This index measures financial inclusion through 3 dimensions that are access, use, and quality perception. In these last 2 dimensions, Peru is below the regional average. Let us remember that access to quality financial services drives greater productivity and business profitability, and therefore their growth and also the country's growth. Many of you probably already know this, but YAPE is an app that allows you to send and receive money between your cell phone to your cell phone contacts, or by scanning QR codes for free and without the need of account numbers. Initially, this was an app focuses on individuals, but over time, YAPE began to enter businesses as a payment method, thanks to its practicality, speed, and the large number of users who use it on a daily basis. We currently remain committed to inclusion and have launched the Quechua version of our yape.com.pe website, thus keeping in mind the 14% of our Quechua-speaking Peruvian population. We definitely continue to dream for a better Peru with accessible financial services that generate well-being for our Peruvians. But not everything is technology and innovative financial products. Training for us is also essential to boost the entrepreneurs' businesses. And that is how our program Contigo Emprendedor BCP was born. Currently, this is our flagship volunteer program, which seeks to promote the businesses of micro entrepreneurs in the country through virtual training on financial education, digitalization, security, and leadership, making available the most important asset we have, the talent of our collaborators. Today, we have trained more than 58,000 entrepreneurs from all over Peru, thus generating a positive impact in their finances.
I am hanging on to the expression around financial independence for women. And what better than a large institution such as yours making that difference? The very fact that BCP has committed to making that change through the services it provides and looking at innovative practices to make sure that everybody has access to more and to learn how to have access to more. I do believe that these conversations are also important because they bring together the best practices amongst 4 organizations. And that's when we come together, not only do we get to showcase what we are doing, but get to learn from each other. And I'm taking away the financial independence piece because I believe that that is really the pathway to being free and to being able to do what women individually and independently desire for themselves. Thank you, Maria Luisa, for bringing that point up. That's a really vital piece for all of us. And Natalia, if I may come to a question for you. As an organization, how important is it for you to leverage D&I as a strategic priority, as a strategic business priority? And how do you see this affecting the workforce of your organization? Speak also to the idea of what is the role that top leadership plays in creating this and furthering this cause.
Great, Preeti. Thank you for the question, Mia. You know, like, I think organizations today play a huge role to build a better world, like TCS is doing, because I know how TCS was born in India and how it was growing, impacting very positively many people, first in India, and then with this expansion to the whole world, creating employment, yes, creating opportunities for everyone. And you see, so like right now, I see as the different organization should set an example, yes, of equity for those diversity and inclusion programs. And as you say, like, why is this strategic? Probably it will be something controversial, what I would say, but I do not believe that D&A initiatives should be seen as generator of additional revenues or the competitive advantage. Okay, it can come with that, yes, with a good reputation for the company. But I think deeply that it is about the justice and human right that our organization should to promote, to give this example and what we expect from our societies. But then, of course, like the question would be all of us, do you want to belong to this company that really believe and expand D&A, respecting who you are, or you want to be in the company who doesn't care about, like, just like it is a lot of biases and nobody care about how do you think, and it is like not very inclusive company. So at the end, I think all of us want to belong to those companies where we really care about our people, about our talent, about diversity and inclusion, and it will create more attraction and retention at the end. But not should be like, we are going to do because we are going to increase our revenues or things like that. We really should to do it as a strategically because we care about our people. I remember in the first time I was speaking about experience of our employees, where everyone want to feel like accepted, valued, belong, yes, and my ideas are also included, like Cynthia was saying. It's just nice to hear that we need to hear different perspective, because it's just boring just to work with people who think equal like you. It is not creating much opportunities, no, to do things different. And at the end, like, what is top leaders' role? I think it is a critical role. No, we need from the top leaders to ensure, no, this D&A atmosphere, creating a lot of sponsorship, also being these life examples. Definitely, we need like top leaders, because at the beginning, Preeti, you told us the people look to us, yes, to imitate those behaviors. So we need to be even more aware about our behaviors, about our own biases. And of course, we need to be these first allies, advocates, no, even to those who need more help. And those, it is like really helping the woman, helping the people with less resources, helping to those minorities, no, to see how we can really create some special programs to really help them to navigate, give them the tools to really support this type of culture. So without senior leadership commitment, it is impossible to influence organizational culture. Definitely, it begins from the top and reinforce it from the bottom.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much. I'm really aware of the time. Like I said, Rishi, we should have had more than 60 minutes for this conversation, but I'm going to ask you something that is really pertinent for the month that's coming up. Starting tomorrow, we step into International Women's Day, which for TCS is an entire month of celebration, showcasing, making sure that our role models come and speak up. We offer opportunities to learn, to coach and mentor. The difference is that this month kickstarts the theme for us for an entire year, which might be a little beyond the theme of that has been declared by the UN as their goal for the year. But the beauty is that the entire world comes together, and there is something to be said to that. So question for all of you is, the words equity and equality are very often changed interchangeably. And the fact is that they're very, very different. Equality is different from equity. I'd like to know from the three of you, what do these words mean to you? How do you differentiate between them? And how do you plan to take the goal of embracing equity, which is our hashtag for the year, forward starting tomorrow? Any of you would like to go?
So let me start. Do you want to start, Natalia? No. Okay.
No, Cynthia, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me start. And I went to look at the definition. I think it's always good to start with a definition. So equality is the access to or distribution of a set of resources evenly across individuals. And equity is the access to or distribution of resources according to the need. So this has a lot to do with the intentionality that I spoke a little bit about, and Natalia too, that you need to be intentional to get to equity. So for instance, I have an opportunity here at Bradesco. Equality is let everyone compete equally for that spot, but people with a different background, and if we are intentional in really wanting to promote diversity, they will not compete equally for the same opportunity because they came from different realities. So if I get a man or a woman who went to a good school, who got education on different languages, and to compete with someone who came from a different background, who didn't have the same opportunities, but it's a pretty smart person, they will never get that job and will never change the reality and have the equity that we want to have. So for instance, why do I need to put as a prerequisite to have English? They can learn that at Bradesco, and then we can have the equal opportunity. We can have the, then we are promoting the equity for people to compete and get the real opportunities. Sometimes we'll need to get the less qualified person to promote diversity. That's doing equity. And I have a phrase that our senior executive here in Asia says that I think it really says it all. It's not about inviting the girl to the party. It's inviting the girl to dance at the party. That's promoting equity.
True.
Let me give additional definition about that I found very useful. It's say equality is giving everyone the same pair of shoes. Equity is giving everyone a pair of shoes that fits. Yeah, like it's very same what Cynthia already explained, just to really go to the needs of different individuals, because it does not give, I know, like even in the leadership, no, we need to adjust our leadership style, not giving everyone the same, but really to understand what everyone needs. As an example, to be a little bit more flexible with the woman, understanding they have children, so that we can be a little bit more flexible with their schedule, or to see how we can help them to really doing these different roles. But just additional example that I'm facing every day when it comes to equity is about the salary payments. Like equality is just to pay the same like to everyone, but it is impossible, no? But really trying to find equity is just to really pay at least the same for the same role, the same effort. Yes, because the people, and I know every company have this like challenge to see how we can create more equity and how we are paying and rewarding our people, because like today we still know that many women who assume those leadership roles are less paid across the world than men, and it is like really create an equity. Yes. And so equity would be, it is not the same salary for everyone. Okay, it depends on many things. Yes, it is about your experience, it is about your background. But when it comes, yes, to have the same role, the same effort, we really need to be the thing about this equity, but not equality for everyone.
Yeah, from my side, I totally agree with my colleagues. Just to add, for me, equity is to achieve effective equality. And how do I plan to embrace equity? From my side, being much more aware of the particular situation of each person around me and facilitating what is necessary for equal opportunities. Listening, not assuming, that is very common for everybody, and supporting those who need it and giving the space to share and encourage more women to develop and grow.
Lovely. I'm going to steal all the phrases that the three of you have shared. You're going to see them on TCS handles very soon. Well, I'd like to add to the definition. And this is how we at TCS define equality and equity. Equality for us means the same. Can we do the same, offer everybody the same resources, the same opportunities, the same avenues to learn, to grow, and to become? Equity is to look at specific needs, looking at what are the specific needs and requirements of different people, be that in the space of accessibility, environment, ecosystem, background, and thus providing opportunities from the lens of equity, which is a specific requirement and is not the same. And I think a great way for us to look at it as a group today is to say both are important. We need to look at both. We need to look at equality and equity. And given that this year is dedicated to embracing equity, I do believe that we also need allies like Tushar, who have so wonderfully curated and brought us all together on this forum to actually talk about what is really important to us. Bearing time in mind, and I do want you to be able to ask Tushar and me any questions you might have about us at TCS. So I do know, Maria, you had a question. I'm going to put that out to you first, but as we go along, Cynthia and Natalia, if you all have, if a question shows up for you, please do feel free to ask. Maria Luisa, over to you.
Sure. Considering the cultural diversity you have all over the world, what has been the biggest challenge that TCS has faced in terms of gender equity?
So it's a very broad question, but let me try and answer it. We are in over 50 countries as an organization. Our workforce is over 220,000 women. And our work is always essentially across cultures, across time zones, across different circumstances, different age groups as well. As an organization, we are 67% below the age of 31, which I have to tell you baffles me every time I think about it, because we're really saying that we're a very, very young organization. And looking at that demographic and looking at that palette of our workforce, embracing equality and equity is an ongoing process for us. We do this by providing opportunities which are personalized. We make sure that there are opportunities to learn. We ensure that there are career opportunities which are curated individually. So if somebody was to come to us and talk about how they wish to progress, we would navigate that with them. We have opportunities for different stages of learning. So we have initiatives that we run for our junior workforce, our middle workforce, and for our senior workforce. We have programs that we run through the year for our emerging leaders to say who's going to take over from us? What is the next stage? Are we fulfilling the aspirations of all those women who are actually saying, I want this, I want my family as well as I want my workplace. In fact, there was a wonderful conversation I recently had, which was around, can I uphold my individuality and my responsibility? And that was such a vital piece of expression, because what it really said to me is each one of us is waiting to express our individuality in some form or the other. And the responsibility, mine specifically, but the responsibility of the entire organization is to provide enough room for that to happen. I would also say that coaching and mentoring are a very critical and important part of the work we do. We have a center of excellence that we run in coaching and one in mentoring. And we take this forward to ensure that our leaders and our emerging leaders have avenues to learn. Anybody within TCS, anyone can ask for a mentor. Anyone within the organization can ask for a coach. There's also work that we do on what I like to call the ecosystem. So we have 5 pillars that we work with. The first one is representation. Representation really says the demographic. What are we doing to make sure that we have more of a diverse workforce, more women at the workforce, as well as other diverse identities. We have enablement, which entirely looks at policies, accessibility, accommodation for everybody, including women. We have ecosystem or culture, which is all about ensuring that all those who surround us also have the same objective in mind. And this is a learned process. So I don't take it to heart when somebody doesn't know. I believe that we can turn the direction of our course by learning the process. And we also have engagement, which is all our ERGs. We have 14 ERGs, including one for single parents, which is one of our very fun ERGs, because we have men and women who come in and who are single parents who basically share ideas and talk about what they need. And sometimes these are light and easy ideas, and sometimes they're really tough conversations, because they might need more from us as an organization than just the very minor. And finally is our change-making pillar, which is development. Development is the pillar which is also called Lead Academy, where we curate, write, create, innovate in partnership. And I think we really do co-create initiatives towards developing every diverse identity of our organization. So I'm sorry if I'm rambling and I've said too much, but this is such a wide scope of our work. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to share that.
Thank you for sharing.
You're passionate for your job, really. That's the reason.
Say that again, Cynthia, I'm sorry?
You're passionate about what you do.
Yes, I'm very steeped in it, and I'm very grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
How often do we get to do the job of our choice and get paid for it?
Yeah. Do we have time for one more, or are we out of time?
We do. We can take one more.
So I think another important thing that maybe I wanted to hear how you do it, or if the others want to share it, and I think it's important for us to share here, it's work-life balance. This has been always women have more on their plates than traditionally than men. And Natalia mentioned some of that too. We need to understand that from companies that there are more things going on in a woman's life most of the times. And that was really harder in pandemic. There are a lot of women that had the children at home that couldn't work. A lot of women left their jobs during the pandemic, much more than men. So we came back a few years in advancements due to that. So what's your recipe for work-life balance and what TCS does for women in that area?
So my response to that is that we are, and this is my personal response, is that more than work-life balance, I like to look at work-life integration. And for me, it's to say that we need to be able to see what to prioritize at what time. There will be times where I'll need to prioritize work, and there'll be times I'll need to prioritize my work or my home life. There are also the consideration has to be that women are different at different stages of their lives. So women at a stage where they've got little children or they've got greater responsibilities, it has to be accommodated. Given that the size and scale of our organization is what it is, we train our managers to ensure that they provide first-hand support to the women workforce and are responsive when asked. So one is to create an ecosystem where women can come in. TCS now, for instance, is our TCS Network for Outstanding Women, where women can come in and voice their views and say, listen, I need help, here is where I'm stuck. And that's the ask. And the response to that is that one is that me and my team are always listening to say, all right, what is it that we need to do next? Alongside, what about the manager on hand? And how are the managers ensuring, men and women, that women are supported as they navigate their work and their home life, almost on a constant basis and at different stages of their life? I think our life is fairly complex, right? As women, our life is not as simple as going to work and coming back. We've got so many dynamics, and people around us need to recognize that. Cynthia, did that response work for you?
Yeah, that was great, Preeti. Thank you. That was great.
I see we are a little over time, so I'm going to hand it back to Rishi. But before I go, I have to say what a pleasure it has been to speak to the three of you. And Tushar, please continue to uphold the flag of allyship and ensure that you keep doing this for us on an ongoing basis. Your visible action is very, very appreciated. Rishi, I'm going to hand it over to you, and please take us to closure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Preeti. So every time we have such a session, and every time I listen to all of, especially the women leaders come up, there's so many things which come up for me, and there's so much of learning. I know we're out of time, so I'm not going to take much of your time, and I'll ask Tushar to just close the session. I want to thank all of you for, offering such an enriched conversation to us. Wishing you a very happy International Women's Day in advance. And I'm going to see you soon, I hope. Tushar, over to you, please.
Thank you, and very wonderful and awesome session. Okay, congratulations for all the achievements and setting an example, all of you, as a role model in the region. And I myself have learned a lot from this conversation. And for sure, I just want to tell all of you that I will watch the broadcast of this session with my daughter and my wife. So it has touched me again, the way the conversation happened. And I want to really thank you all our guests and team TCS for making this happen. Muchas gracias, Maria Luisa and Natalia. Muito obrigado, Cíntia. Thank you very much, as always, Preeti and Rishi, supporting us for such kind of event. It's an inspiring and honor to hear from again all of you, and it means a lot for TCS. The way all of you spoke, it matches with the ethos and culture and values which all of you as a company and also TCS is doing it. And the engagement of companies and leadership at your level is essential to to have this change. So once again, thank you very much on behalf of TCS to all of you who took the time to participate in this session with us. And for sure, we'll have more broadcast of the same session along with all of you publishing in the different platform. Last year, I think the theme which I learned was diversity and inclusion with empowerment, and keep learning with the new themes, which is now today embrace equity, which is very important. The way all of you gave lovely examples. I remember those examples, what you mentioned. So thank you very much once again. Have a great day ahead, all of you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.